Good morning, everybody. This is quality, safety, quality, safety. Quality, safety are ongoing. Quality and safety issues are ongoing. Quality, I can say, and safety, I can say. Quality, safety, contracts, I can say. And we have to contemplate on this, and that's why it's important one. Contemplation on both issues, quality and safety, and you can say works and engineering and otherwise. Good morning, everybody. Namaskar. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India. On this is January 17, 2022. Monday, it's 3:37 in morning. एंड ऑल्सो मेरा नाम सूरज सिंह है, सिविल इंजीनियर भारत से, जनवरी 17 2022 सुबह के 3:38 और मैं आपके सामने लेकर हाजिर मोहिंदस मदानी सूरज सिंह, बिल हिंद, भारत, इंडिया, कलाम regarding quality, safety. To all my friends all over the world, this is usual talk, routine talk. I try to share my contemplation, my opinion, my thoughts, or you can say my experience-based knowledge with you. Whatever small knowledge with references I have got, I try to share with all public and particularly professional public, professional communities of all branches of engineering, that quality and safety they care about, to what percentage they care about or care about. In particular, I'm talking about this country and our country. I belong to citizens of this country, Bharat, India. Talk being quality, concrete specifications, Civil-Field Engineering, Life Engineers, AnnexSL, Red+Silver+WhiteBoks contracts, according to FIDIC specifications, FIDIC designs and safety, health, environment, and of course, then you can say line of working, design, construction, method contracts. Design and construction are integrated together to complete a project. The methods and contracts are also integrated together for doing a job. And disputes organizations means disputes are to be resolved, and for organizations, because of this all exists between two organizations, communication, coordination are an important part of life. Then the question is why quality materials, why quality of materials are others. Here's my certification. You can see certification here. My email address, my email ID is given at bottom, above number, telephone, and that's Suraj_Engineer. Suraj, SURAJ _Engineer, ENGINEER at yahoo.co.uk, and I am designated originally by my qualification experience, Chartered Engineer India, and of course I'm on roll of International Professional Engineer, India Register, current register, and I belong to Civil Engineering Division of Institute of Engineers and also Civil Engineering profession by virtue of my educational training, qualification, and I belong to building engineering, structural engineering, construction engineering, and of course all, grossly speaking, coordination engineering. And this is my testimonial for International Professional Engineer India in field of civil engineering, clearly written, civil engineering field, and this validity is up to the certificate validity of 30 September 2025. And here is a Chartered Engineer certificate, Chartered Engineer Civil Engineering Division of Institute of Engineers. I am designated Chartered Engineer India according to law of this country, according to Charter of Institute of Engineers India, at Civil Engineering Division. And here is fellow membership, that is fellow membership of Institution of Engineers India, which is our top on 3 grades of membership. Bottom is MI, middle is MI, and number 1 is fellow. 3 grades available. And here is my quality file where you can say deliberate elaborately, with of course certain revisions frequently. And here is reference file, that is concrete terminology from ACI. Concrete terminology I am discussing, and it's alphabetically titled, definitions are included. So we have to do this for better understanding, for reducing file numbers here. I am now putting off, I'm now closing Charter Engineers file here. I'll close this. I'm also closing fellow file, and now we have quality here. So these files we have on the board. That's my address, then testimonial int p, quality, and then you can say calculate terminology 21 2020 ACI. I start with this quality because my title is here. You can see today's date continuation is quality concrete specifications. I will start with quality, then of course we relate to engineering and life engineers, and as through contracts construction goes on, through designs construction goes on, and through methods construction goes on, and you can say contract covers entire exercise. And when contract covers entire exercise, disputes are therefore expected due to certain non-clarities in contracts, or due to certain ambiguities, or due to expectations of either party which may not be clear in contracts, or due to some disputes based on quality losses or substandard works or some other technical disputes which can be generated or can be unexpectedly, you can say, referred to, where two parties or both parties to contract do not agree on certain decisions taken by competent persons who are called engineers or representative, and overall mechanism that mechanism that gives tracks for motion of all these activities. I'm just saying tracks, try to understand what I mean. When I say tracks means communication coordination, because communication coordination are those trains or tracks network on which all these trained activities go on. I call them trains. Trains is quality concrete. All these titular talks, all these title headings, subheadings constitute a kind of train, just like train in processing plant or trains, a physical train used for journey. So we can say we have to browse over this network of communication coordination that really we understand, which we have to move without even understanding. Even if we don't understand, we use communication all the time, verbal or written, or eye signals, or sign communication, or references, whatsoever. We can say coordination is extremely important that people should realize. Now here title of this file is Active Quality Performing Application, SHE, Engineering Approach on Designs, Manufacturing and Construction Redefined for Working Considerations. I made some changes in title. Previously it was very simple. Now I want to elaborate it like specialization goes on and on for improvement, and improvement goes on for further improvement. So we have definition of quality approach. To my based on my experience, I am not saying it is authorized definition, but it is understandable that an engineer doesn't need authorization when it comes to performance of work, because you have to select what is right or what's not right. You have to decide yourself. Being a competent personnel, it's the duty of every engineer to elaborately deliberate what is in mind and share with others. So whatever exists in my mind is based on my little experience of around 40 years. I can say that title is Active Quality Performing Application. I'm not saying dead quality or passive quality. I'm stating is active quality performing application. Engineering is full of applications, and there may be hundreds and hundreds of applications on every project or every major consideration. So active quality means running quality that should not stop or sleep. Quality itself speaks to me and to everybody who ever deals with works. Project works, project means engineering projects, manufacturing projects, processing projects, or whatever projects where products are delivered. Projects are delivered means it's not simply imaginary world. You can say it relates to physical world. And that's why I use this term active quality and not talkative quality. Engineering does not believe in lip service. First of all, we have to keep this point in mind. Engineering does not believe in lip service. Engineering does not believe in imaginary service. Engineering is not a platform for entertainment. Engineering is a platform for seriousness. Seriousness means real working, sequential working, working that gives a product, that delivers a product which can be useful for certain period in life. Successfully, it has certain function. Product should have certain function. Otherwise, it doesn't mean engineering. Whatever product we have, that should suit purpose for which that product has been manufactured or produced. And that is where we can say application of knowledge, otherwise we may say that knowledge was available, it was designed properly to fit in for either manufacture or construction, and once that is delivered, it should do its job. It should work accordingly what it was infilled in, or whatever characters, whatever parameters were given to it, it should perform. And if it can perform, we can say that this is engineering product, or otherwise it's not engineering product. Here engineering has some meaning. It's not ordinary meaning of engineering. It means it has got specific meaning, and that specific meaning is it is professional product. Every product produced by proper engineering application, you may say, of course it is product, but it is applied product, it is engineered product. This product has got certain specific controls within this. And this controls I'm talking, these controls, which can be system controls, which can be item controls, which can be other controls, all these amount to working under quality, working by quality, working for quality. Quality gives another quality. Likewise, we may say action of quality or quality in action. Active quality, performing application. If quality performs with quantity production, we can say performance of application. Application performs, quality application performs. And then we say SHE, that is safety, health, environment, along with many other inputs, many other inclusions of knowledge. And we can say engineering approach on designs, of course. When we're talking of engineering, this is engineering on designs. We have to apply, we have to reach engineering to designs. We have to reach engineering to manufacturing after designs, after patents or whatsoever, and then we can reach engineering to construction, and we can say these are major parts of life. Design applies everywhere, and manufacturing for all thousands of products available in world, and then construction unlimited. So every what you can say this title includes this. The gross one, redefined for working considerations, because redefinition is also important, keeping abreast current development, keeping abreast updated actions, updated knowledge. Every day we have some learning. We can say this is professional development that continues, CPD we call it, continuous professional development. And that means my ideas move on, and based on results, and based on proposals, and based on requirements and fresh requirements, and excluding obsolete requirements, we can move further to open new vistas, better vistas than it were having previously. I'm talking about that one, Therefore, title is suitable, and if we can say active quality performance. Active quality means updated quality, working quality, acceptable quality or rejectable quality, and to what extent it can be successful. Same way, updated arrangements of safety, health and environment, that are very important points along with quality, because both directly impact on works. Both directly impact on works. That is very much desirable, and we can say we have to apply all these requirements through engineering on our works, design works, manufacturing works, construction works, and whatever else. So we have to think on these, and we have to try to redefine for our references. Redefinition doesn't mean that everybody should know this. Redefinition is something which everybody can do, from fresh engineer or budding one to veterans. And then engineering never diminishes, it always goes on increasing. Seniors and veterans are very excellent power of engineering if they are properly utilized, because they are full of knowledge, real knowledge. Maybe they forgot theoretical knowledge of university time, but practical knowledge. Why we call practical? Because it is done and delivered. Just theory is of course important, but just theory doesn't work. Theory is also result of practical experience or empirical experience, unformalized experience and formalized experience. We have to think of what do you mean by that, and that is quality in Bharat, India. I'm going to refer to, and it's very important part here. Quality in Bharat, India's title says, though I'm just referring to Bharat, India, though it doesn't mean that it confines to our country. It's only for reference. It can be considered everywhere. Quality system, quality approach, quality system, quality approach, quality direction, quality working, quality thinking, whatever subpart of actions we may consider, quality can be respected, quality can be analyzed itself, quality can be considered and reconsidered. So there are so many parts in quality also, but these parts cannot be isolated, because quality moves with production, manufacturing, construction. Quality moves with quantity. Both have to move together along with safety. Though safety is not part of quality, but safety is support to everyone. So even if I don't speak safety in my sentences and my talks, even then it is understood that safety is included there. It is included whenever I say projects or works, activities. Safety is automatically included. That's significant point I have to think of. When I say quality, there are so many questions can be raised, and we can say, starting with, where does quality exist? If it exists, okay, we have to know where does it exist, where is its location, what are its coordinates in space, or what are its coordinates otherwise. Well, we cannot say we have to measure on geometric axis, x-axis and y-axis. Mathematically, its location means we have to make sure that we see quality, we see it, we look at it, and we have it. That's what I say, where does quality exist? We should know its location, its coordinates, we should know its data. And we should assure with confirmation, yes, we have. We have it, we know it. But I say, it's not found I could not find it, and with that we can say it is really unfortunate. I tried to find it, where is it located, but I failed to find it. Or we can say it could not show me its face, forget about the structure. It did not show me till now its face on an average basis in this country. And also I can say in many other countries, but I'm currently confined to state of quality in my own system, my own country. Could not find it, unfortunately. I tried to ask many people on web, on internet, or otherwise. I tried to locate people who are either quality inclined or who have been suffering from not abiding by it. I tried to raise many questions to many colleagues, but I am also sure and I assess that interest that should be there, degree of interest that should people have, personal or engineers have, that also lacks in. And this is really with very low profile, or we can say with my very sad mind, condoling mind, I can say why we are off of that consideration. It's not explicitly clear to me. Being an engineer and being good human, one should be honest. Engineering cannot be affected without foundation of honesty, sincerity, and many other parameters that should be included with the engineering profession. And because we consider engineering as profession, this means it is based religiously. One should consider it as it's doing pious job, I mean to say, clarity job, clear job, honest job, where every input from your mind, from your soul, should go to production of whatever material or whatever work you do. That should be clear in its power of potential, I may say. I can use whatever terminology here, doesn't matter, as far as expression is clear. Every engineer can define it, can understand it, can relate itself to that one. So when I say I could not find quality system and quality subsystems or controls, that is unfortunate, of course. It should not be like that. Then I can say, did you find, or can you find for deliberations? If I raise this question, even then I don't get certain input. That's also unfortunate. This means I am talking in here, I am not talking to personnel, I am not talking to engineers, I am just talking alone. Right? It can be. Because matter is so serious, people do not want to understand. Either they ignore or they don't respect it. It is not personal matter, it's not personal issue, it's issue for society, it's issue for nation, it's issue for future culture generation, future culture of work, culture of acceptance. Quality can be a part of culture if we respect it. And if we don't respect it, we reject ourselves. My question again remains same. Did you find or can you find Where does quality exist? For purpose of deliberations, for purpose of brainstorming. That is what is intentional here. If I do not get these answers, or if I get certain answers, it is same. This means there are so many issues involved. If you cannot get direct answers, or you can say there can be many red lines, many unclear symbols, unclear approach, and we can say certain red lines that must be turned green. And can you do that? I am referring to traffic signals. If there is a red line, you cannot pass that line, and if it's green, you are free to go, of course, looking at this and that side, left and right, or rear and rear. Rear and front, you have to move further, and that's where I say I have many red lines, but people jump red lines without caring of accidents. Without caring of accidents, if we jump, we have to see some difficult result, unacceptable result. Here we can say quality approach defined, and various dates. Improvements have been made. I keep on changing. Now question is, what about contracts for construction? What about contracts for designs, procurement and construction? Do we organize to design quality contract, or do we go for lines decided by others? Do our engineers have interest in contract design activity, which is very complex and impacts on contract performance and contract related disputes? Are our engineers, those interested in designs activities, not inclined to involve with construction activities? And if not, what are valid reasons? What is the issue that engineers do not incline to work in coordination activities that impact on quality of design and quality of construction? Should we respect contracts, or we should move without contracts? Right? Is it right? Should we respect contracts, or we should move without contracts? What about major materials being concrete in structure? What about major materials that are often permanently included in structure and buildings everywhere on all projects? So major questions are few, if you see, starting with contracts. What about contracts? Both construction contract or designs, procurement, construction, or we can call EPC, and one is construction. All the construction means it refers to Red Book of FIDIC, and other one is designs, procurement and construction, which means Silver Book of this. And design also carries, you can say separately, it's engineered, it's called a white book. And same design and delivery, design and procurement, or can say design and build for machines and plants, it can be called yellow book. So there are various books. This don't mean color actually, it's not color, it's just symbolic. But again, question is contracts. Has a question, so do we organize to design quality contract, or do we go per lines decided by others? It has got some meaning. Contract. When we talk of contract, we talk of billions, millions and millions. We don't talk of one or two. We talk of billions and billions, or millions and millions. And that is unit of currency. And of course, it depends on what projects do we have. Contract is actually something, you can say documentation, of course it's a document, but but its activities do not amount to documents. Activities in contract are technical, commercial. You can say such definition can be allotted, such authority can be given to contract, and it is done. Contracts a kind of, you can say, it's a kind of charter that defines cost for some work, that defines rights for party, privileges for party, responsibilities and obligations parties. And of course, it binds both parties who are entered into contract of construction. Otherwise, both are responsible, both having duties and rights, both have to move together until contract ends or completes. And if both can't move together, then both have to face problems, because it is a kind of written document, written and mandated document. Both parties agree on rights and privileges of each other during this phase of work, and of course during construction and during manufacturing, during production, during whatever activity. But here, because civil engineering, when I talk, it's world of, you can say, generally covering all activities in life. Without civil engineering, I think no one can exist. We have to understand that engineering is not originally software based. Engineering is mind based. Engineering means, and particularly if you are an engineer and you have mind, this is double role then. You should use both. You cannot ignore either and just thinking of that I want to make money because I am engineer, it's my, I should have status. Then engineering fail at that point. Engineering fails. When you relate your knowledge, relate your God-given capacity or capability in terms of money making or earning, that situation automatically disqualifies to be called quality work. Contracts is a system. Contracting is a system of agreement of how to handle and how to control implementation or prosecutions of contract, its clauses and its scope of work. And we have to move further to add more and more information as is understood, very helpful, very supportive. This means quality is not related to site work only or related to production work only. Quality is an issue that relates to how is product or proceed moves on. What is to be given to it? If we miss somewhere in beginning, then we think again, get information and clarify itself what is it? Really, is it quality or it's not quality? Contracts, when we talk of, this means we talk of some agreements between two parties, some maybe compromise or maybe some other irrelevant exercise to be done. Contracts means a kind of destiny of that project. And who shall work there? That is another point of view. It is question of safety, question of environment, question of health that we can chart ourselves. If we design contracts that it should be in favor of one party, or it should not be fair in other parties' interest, then we cannot say that that is equity-based contract. When we say equity means both must be considered same powerful or same performing. Of course, a contractor is a party to perform physically all activities that involve with that project, and we cannot avoid it. We cannot avoid it. Contract, which is like a must, though it's not a must, but let us say it is must, then contract is guiding and mandating document. Guiding first and then mandating also, because it is a charter agreed between two parties. You may not be familiar with the word charter, but it is a requirement, and charter means a kind of agreement based law for those parties for certain work, in addition to all other laws. Authorization of responsibilities, authorizations of obligations, authorizations of working, authorizations of testing, or you may can say once you agreed, formally or informally, whatsoever. If you are trustworthy and the other party is trustworthy, there should be no flaw in minds of either party, then they can say this contract is agreeable. Of course, procedure says they are not talking of procedure, I am talking of that contract exists. If contract exists means it must be strong enough, durable enough to get work done in a perfect way, in a quality way. But it's not happening, it doesn't happen all the time. Maybe there are certain remote cases where you can do something, but I don't think so that without professional support it can be handled. That's the point here, very important point. It can't be handled like that. This point we have to be very clear about. If you are very clear about that, let me put off battery first for some time so that it doesn't overcharge. Temperature is low. It shows 7 degrees, but it is lesser than that. I think it's 5 degrees something, and it's very cold. And I can't tolerate cold. That is my weakness. My legs are freezing, we can say. Really? That's I try to heat up through my tongue when I talk to you. So I was actually, if we think of contract, and we think not as commercial person but as engineering professionals. Of course, we are bound by commercial price, we are bound by payment issues, we are bound by whatever is there. That's all part of contract, and we say that contract starts with name of project. Whatever project it is, name of project, and then we can say scope of project. Name and scope, and when we say scope, it's also very descriptive what is involved on that contract and what is not involved in the contract. Or you can say inclusions or exclusions are well defined in the scope of work and responsibilities. And then we come to terms and conditions, particularly special terms and conditions, contractual terms and conditions, and those are there always in contract data of price wise, time wise, you can say completion wise, insurance wise, and whatever other considerations we have to relate to securities, recoveries, likewise advance payment. So many points exist in that contract, and these are like contract particulars. Contract's particular forms, talking of how to support a party who contracts, or contractor you may say, which was bidder before, and when one has got a contract, that means it's not a laughing stock or it's not congratulatory stock. You got a contract, you congratulate you. Congratulation is different, but I should say it's a question of responsibility. It's a question of liability, accountability, and performing status, performing potential. Do you have that? Which is job of engineer to make sure, and it does. Contracts doesn't mean everything should be clearly defined. But I say it's preferable, it is professional as much as we can define. As much as we can define for that work to be done, that is very useful to avoid possible undesirable disputes that can move on, that can result in if contracts are not clear. So much documents we have. Every contract has so much documents. So many documents. Volume descriptions. Of course, that is backup. That is true guide. But sometimes it's also, you can say, so much volume work, everybody cannot go through thorough understanding. We should be there, we should have thorough understanding, you cannot avoid that. But sometimes, and not sometimes, many times it happens that non-clarities or you can say ambiguities expose themselves. It should not be there. And if context is not clear, and it's also very difficult to evaluate it properly. If you ask questions every time about contracts, nothing wrong with that, it's your right. But a party, owner's party, thinks differently probably, because they have to do same consideration, same study again and again. We have to have contracts with quality potential, or you can say degree of good quality. And this means structure of contract. It may be voluminous, but it should be clearly understandable. If we thus understood, then what's meaning of contract? What is meaning of contract in that case? I say I'm talking of contracts in this talk not because I am happy to do something which you do not like. And it's also true, liking or no liking shall not solve your issue. If you like something, then you have to demonstrate that. How do you demonstrate? What do you demonstrate? That is up to personal to decide. And because personal is also employed by someone, private government sector, that the person doesn't become happy in that case. Construction, when we do, it should be free mind. It should be free mind and clear mind. It should be not bound by undue requirements. We cannot say, but we should know what work has to be done. And if I don't have records from past, how can one understand that it was all right? There should be depiction of quality in contract. It should be there. Quality contents. Whatever quality means, you go to start of the day's activity and you have to do a lot on that. But there are some moments where you forget everything and go to take bath, use WC. This happens. And your contracts must have all those provisions. Contract means complete contract. It doesn't mean one item contract or two item contract. It means complete requirement to be met. And that requirement we have to decide ourselves based on past experiences. Whatever we did there, we have to record that. And whatever we do now, we have to record that as well. It's hard work. If you say contracting, I should say give this contract to many others. That can happen. Quality in contract is essential. And it's not difficult if we can't do that. Because I'm saying quality in contracts, not quality in works. There's a difference. The success when talking of quality of works means project activities are moving and we say it's not done. In that case, you have no answer. Engineer is such a mind, it becomes liability free. When I talk of quality in contract, it's a question of eye-opening, because in that case I say contract comprises of all documents, all other contract documents, all other contract specifications, all other drawings, related drawings, and then you can say whenever you see excavation moves on, it goes off for a couple of days, goes off. When my question is what about contracts for construction, it itself carry a lot meaning. We say contract of construction means you have to take care about vehicle because about cars. We cannot measure contract otherwise. Contract must have complete information, complete mandate, complete requirement in this. Not only in documents as such we discussed, but also in drawings which are produced based on those documents, and these are much more better documents. And also there could be robbers with these. There could be robbers and many robbers for avoiding all these disputes. But that can be done only when adequate coordination remains there. Nothing can be taken for granted. Nothing. And contract says two parties have to interact with each other for work as they have interacted with requirement of contract documentation. It is of course interesting as well, because whoever is here to enjoy, it can enjoy in following paragraphs, but are these legal? Legal what? Administration, contract understanding, contract related designs, contract related procurement. This means we cannot freely move. We have certain application of visa restrictions, and if you have not left your country or got your country in for a couple of many months, in that case it's very important You have to think every time. Sometimes people do not try to. They say, okay, it's contract. It's okay, it's contract. Person's talking that way doesn't have interest in work. If you're getting 1500, 2000 or some other amount, definitely there is a but. Contract is a mechanism or in writing. It's a mechanism in writing what we have to do on sites or how we have to manufacture, how to do processing. It's a kind of mechanism that exists for project between two and by them two notices, talks, conferences, congresses, all action. Contract is a world of knowledge. Of course, it's legal based, but it's not necessarily actually legal based. Common sense can be used for such works. Common sense. Design quality contract. It should be clear. It should answer every question. It should. If it doesn't answer, this means professional person has not produced it. Professional and experienced professional, not just by few kilogram vegetable and indirectly take out from fridge previous one. That should not happen. If it happens, it's not in interest of job. And that's why we said our engineers have interest in contract and design activities. In design activities, they have adequate interest. But what about method of popularity? Method of how much you have done? How much is required? I always try to explain requirements of quality. I have suffered. Everybody has suffered due to lack of knowledge or lack of references. Today we have references in every subject, in every topic, but in life of every deserving one, shift talks, isn't right. We have to think of so many other factors in contract. It should be technical, it should be practical, it should be original. All these are counted, but practically speaking, a control of Why to jump from engineering to management? Why? Should you not ask the question? If you failed in quality system, you failed in your approach to deliver quality with CPD, what meaning does our sentence in this? Now, why the question is, do our engineers have interest in contract designs activity, which is very complex and impacts on contract performance and contract related dispute. It's a sentence having many meanings, but we'll stick to combine the information of life. Therefore, I quick solve these questions and we'll continue these questions later on. As I said before, we read these questions. These questions are same. What about contracts for construction? What about contracts for designs, procurement and construction? And what about do we have organized to we organized to design contracts, contract quality, or we can say do we go free lines decided by others? And we have about interest in contract design actions that we should have, we should apply, and also that. Of course, it's very complex, but not impossible. Then, interest in design, why not in site work? That can be a question. So likewise, there are so many questions we have to go through. We'll shift on to concrete currently because I'll be back onto this form soon. Very important issue. It is our duty to set ourselves right. It is duty of everybody to set your nation right, your individuality right. And we miss it. So we have to continue our talks in this way. It's not complete yet. Do we have our engineers, those interested in designs and activities of construction and contracts? And how can we understand how to comprehend dispute resolution mechanism? Because just if somebody tells us do this, we cannot do that alone without thinking. Sometimes it may be prestigious and may be simple for those rich, and difficult for a person who doesn't get any money. We have to be again and again here. Now we'll go to concrete sometimes for in technology. Concrete technology is very important. It's very important. You never have assembled them, but now we have assembly of this in code ACI, assembly of this terminology, and we have to see, we have gone through many items we have gone through, and we can say we have gone through certain definitions, and we were somewhere on we had gone through this hinge, plastic case, and point load, contraflexion. We have gone through this. We have polymerization, star cono, and we have bonding, etc. We have position, coupler, etc., and then post-tensioning, preferring. We have done that. This puzzle learning work we have done, performed form. And we have here partitioning, bad crusher, principal plans. We have here primary crusher, principal. We have here principal stress. Pumped concrete, okay. Pumped concrete. When I was young, when I was a student, or whatever you can say, when I was this and I was that, we can say so much. In fact, concrete pump for our country now is not new, but if you go back little, we'll find that people did not know even pumping, but no experience overseas, no experience in Middle East. Concrete was a remote subject, a remote application, a remote manufacturing. Still today, there is so much available in, we do not include in our food because of various misconceptions occurring. Those who are interested in money only, they can bring you very fine life. We have to understand facts. Facts remain. Now it is something that was not before couple of years, couple of decades rather. But technology means movement. No stand alone technology exists, because life moves on and on. When we define pumped concrete, we have to say a property of concrete, mortar or grout, to flow through a pipe, for a given diameter and length. Pumped concrete, mortar or grout to flow through a pipe for a given diameter and length that can be discharged with desired performance. That is homogeneous, non-segregated and with specified technological performance. It can be interpreted very easily. We say it is a property of concrete, that is pumping, mortar or grout, or flow through a pipe for a given diameter and length that can be discharged with desired performance. That is homogeneous, non-segregated and with specified rheological properties needed for construction. And if you talk pumping of road, pumping of wearing coat or pavement, talk of that, ejection of water and solid materials such as clay or silt along transverse or longitudinal joints and cracks and along pavement. Pumping of pavements, we said, ejection of water and solid materials such as clay or silt along transverse or longitudinal joints and cracks and along pavement designs, pavement edges caused by withdrawal and that can be curtailed. Punching shear. We have gone to pump concrete, punch and shear now. Failure of a base or slab. Failure of a base or slab when a concentrated load punches hole through it or where a heavy load suspended slab breaks away at perimeter of column. Punching shear, I'm defining. This page is defining punching shear. Base or slab failure when concentrated load punches a hole through it. Punches a hole through it, or where a heavy loaded suspended slab breaks away at perimeter of a column. Now that is punch and shear effect. Putty. Putty. Very simple word, very common word. Plaster composed of quicklime. Still, I don't know what's happening to me. Very cold I'm feeling. Let me with my blanket properly so that my legs are clearly, okay. Let me see, how does it work? We can say putty, a plaster. Putty is a plaster type composed of quick lime or hydrated lime and water without plasters of Paris or sand. We call it putty. Pyrite, pyrite, a mineral. Pyrite is a mineral, iron disulfide. It's iron disulfide. FeS2, a mineral iron disulfide. FeS2 that if it occurs in aggregate used in concrete can cause pop outs and dark brown or orange color staining. Pyrite, a mineral iron disulfide FeS2, if it occurs in aggregate used in concrete can cause pop outs and dark brown or orange colored staining. Quality assurance. I don't say quality assurance, I always say quality requirements, but this is term, let us say quality assurance. Quality assurance. Quality assurance. Actions taken by an organization to provide and document assurance that what's being done and what's being provided are in accordance with contract documents and standards of good practice for work. Excellent definition. Indeed, actions taken by an organization to provide and document assurance that what's being done and what is being provided are in accordance with contract documents and standards of good practice for work. And then quality control. Both are related. Quality control. Quality control. Actions taken by an organization to provide control and documentation. See, control law is very important one. It is in fact detailed work we are talking of, and actions taken by an organization to provide control and documentation over what is being done and what is being provided so that applicable standard of good practice or contract documents for work are followed. Since application of good practice are followed, applications of good practice must be followed. Actions taken by organization to provide quality and documentation over what's being done and what's being provided provided so that applicable standards of good practice or contract documents of work are achieved. It's not so simple just to define in one or two lines. It's a long process. It's in fact a domain. Thousands of testing, hundreds of testing, in hundreds of materials, and you can say interpretation of testing, which test we have to conduct, what can be given. There's some people who don't give, but some people who give. And those who give, they have more confidence of public. That's happened. So quality control is volumetric. It is diverse. Every material requires testing, and of course it is excellent quality system. Control, of course, assurance, or we may say requirement fulfilled. Then quick setting, we have to see flash setting I've discussed, and quick lime means calcium oxide, and we can say rail steel reinforcement, you may say reinforcing bars, hot rolled from standard to rails, those bars talking, not. Then ramming, a form of heavy damping of concrete, ramming. So we have gone through certain important terms which are explained, and it's concrete pumping, for example, quality system, for example, like that. I had a lot of discussion on this concrete pumping, what is in this quality requirement versus quality system, what is this in AnnexSL, because AnnexSL, what is that? All this we have been discussing separately, but all continues in this because of its relation, concrete relation with all. So ramming, a very small activity, but it's also manually done and important, of course, for compaction. It can be form of heavy damping of concrete, grout, or like by means of a blunt tool forcibly applied, random slur machinery, and we may say now raveling, wearing away of concrete surface, caused by dislodging of aggregate particles. Ravel is wearing away of concrete surface, means smooth surfaces worn out. Smooth surfaces worn out and caused by dislodging of aggregates particles. Raw mix, blend of raw materials. Raw mix is blend of raw material ground to desired fineness. Blend of raw material, ground to desired fineness, correctly proportioned and blended, ready for burning. Blend of raw materials, ground to desired fineness, correctly proportioned and blended, ready for burning. Used in manufacture of cement clinker. So raw material ground to desired fineness, correctly proportioned and blended, ready for burning. Used in manufacture of cement clinker. This is one definition of mix, but there's so many others. Okay. Relief are views. Rayleigh, R-A-L-R-Y-L-I-H, Rayleigh wave. This is seismic length. We know seismic latitude. Surface waves, in which particle motion is elliptical and effective penetration is less than one wavelength. With definition of Rayleigh wave: surface wave in which particle motion is elliptical and effective penetration is less than wavelength. Reactive aggregate. Aggregate containing substances capable of reacting chemically. Aggregate containing substances capable of reacting chemically with product of solution or hydration of Portland cement in concrete. Aggregate containing, I am talking of reactive aggregate. Aggregate containing substances capable of reacting chemically with product of solution or hydration of Portland cement in concrete or mortar under ordinary conditions of exposure, resulting in some cases in harmful expansion, cracking or staining. Means reactive aggregate are not desirable. You should have inert aggregate in fact. You should have inert aggregate in fact, not reactive one. You should have inert aggregate. All right. What's happened at the foot of itself? Okay. We have raveling. Rayleigh wave, reactive aggregate, reactive silica. Reactive silica. Several types of materials. That react at high temperatures. Several types of materials that react at high temperature with Portland cement or lime during autoclaving. Materials that react at high temperatures with Portland cement or lime during autoclaving includes pulverized silica, natural pozzolan, and fly ash. Form of silica often amorphous or form of silica often amorphous or cryptocrystalline. Cryptocrystalline, you can say cryptocrystalline, that dissolves when in contact with concrete, pore solution having sufficiently high concentration of hydroxyl ions. Reactive silica, it is several types of materials that react at high temperatures with Portland cement or lime during autoclaving. Several types of materials that react with high temperatures with Portland cement or lime during autoclaving includes pulverized silica, natural pozzolan, and fly ash. Form of silica often amorphous or cryptocrystalline that dissolves when in contact with concrete, that is form of silica, often amorphous or cryptocrystalline that dissolves when in contact with concrete pore pressure, concrete pore solution. That dissolves, this form of silica that dissolves when in contact with concrete pore solution, having sufficiently high concentration of hydroxyl ions. Hydroxyl ions. A reactive stain. A reactive solution of one or more metal. Reactive solution of one or more metal salts stabilized. Reactive solutions of one or more salts stabilized by acid and produces coloration in concrete substrata. Substrate by neutralization of acid followed by precipitation of metal hydroxides or oxides. So reactive stain is reactive solution. Reactive stain's definition is reactive solution of one or more metal salts, one or more metal salts stabilized by acid, and that is stabilized by acid that produces coloration of a concrete substrate by neutralization of acid followed by precipitation of metal hydroxide or oxides. Reactive stain solution, reactive solution of one or more metal salts stabilized by acid that produces coloration in concrete substrate by neutralization of acid followed by precipitation of metal hydroxide oxides. Ready-mix concrete, as I said before, concrete manufactured for delivery to a purchaser in a fresh state. Also, we can say central mixed concrete, shrink mixed concrete, and transit mixed concrete. Rebar, colloquial term for reinforcing bars. Rebound hammer. Rebound hammer. An apparatus that provides a relative indication. Apparatus that provides a relative indication of strength of hardness. Rebound hammer, an apparatus that provides a relative indication of strength of hardness, of concrete based on rebound distance of a spring driven mass after it impacts a rod in concrete with concrete surface. Then they have rebound hammer, an apparatus that provides a relative indication of strength or hardness of concrete based on rebound distance of A spring-driven or mass it impacts the rod in contact with concrete surface. Recycled concrete. Recycled concrete. Hardened concrete. Hardened concrete. Hardened concrete that has been processed. Hardened concrete that has been processed for reuse. Usually aggregate. Reference standard. Reference standard. Standardized mandatory language. Standardized mandatory language documents of technical society, organizations or association, including building codes of local or state authorities that are referenced in contract documents or other standardized documents. Refractories. Materials usually non-metallic. Materials usually non-metallic, used to withstand high temperatures. Materials used non-metallic, used to withstand high temperatures. Refractoriness, property of being resistant to softening or deformation at high temperature. Resistance to high temperature is refractory. Refractory aggregate that is resistant to high temperatures and suitable to produce refractory concrete, and refractory concrete is hardened hydraulic cement concrete, hardened hydraulic cement concrete that is suitable for use at temperature between 315 and 1315 degrees Celsius. In Fahrenheit, 600 to 2400 degrees Fahrenheit. That is refractory concrete, hardened hydraulic cement concrete that suits for use at temperatures between 315 degrees C to 1116 C. We can say refractory aggregate that is resistant to high temperature. Same way we say refractory concrete, hardened concrete, hardened hydraulic cement concrete that is suitable for use at high temperature between, you can say, 315 to 1315 or 300 and 1300 Celsius, also you can say 300 and 1300 degrees Celsius. So it's given 315, this conversion of 600 possibly. So approximately you can say 300 and 1300 degrees Celsius. Refractory concrete and refractory insulating material That is refractory insulating concrete itself, refractory concrete having low thermal conductivity. Refractory insulating concrete is that refractory concrete having low thermal conductivity, regulated set cement. Regulated set cement, a hydraulic cement containing fluorine substituted calcium aluminate, capable of very rapid setting, that is calcium aluminate. Regulated set concrete, regulated set cement, regulated set concrete, refractory insulating concrete. So here is refractory insulated concrete that we had discussed just now, and that is refractory concrete having low thermal conductivity, and regulated set cement, hydraulic cement containing fluorine substituted calcium, fluorine hydraulic cement concrete, cement containing fluorine substituted calcium aluminate, capable of very rapid setting. Fluorine, which is a good terminology here for reference, fluorine, let us say we want to see what's that. It's also good to know. Fluorine substituted calcium aluminate. Let's say calcium aluminate clinker is a refractory. Let's say what's that? Sometimes everything's not clear. Let's say something I think. What's an abstract? Calcium aluminate clinker is a refractory aggregate with and without barium addition and use of that. Present invention provides for refractory aggregate composition comprising an improved calcium aluminate clinker having formula this. I don't know, I'm getting calcium aluminate clinker, it's saying. Something sometimes not relevant. I search for fluorine substituted. Where is that? Let us say fresh fluorine. Stop letting in. But I'm not able to find that. Scholarly article, let us see. Scholarly article also says immobilization of fluorine in aqueous solution like calcium aluminate and mix of calcium aluminate. Leave it, waste of time. No, nothing is clear. So let's hear about this. Says that hydraulic cement containing fluorine substituted calcium aluminate capable of very rapid setting and rehabilitation. It's repairing or modifying a structure, repairing or modifying a structure to a desired useful condition. Rehabilitation is repairing or modifying a structure to a desired useful condition, which can be a part of preservation, repair, or restoration. And the reinforced concrete, this original definition, very simple, and it's there. Means reinforced concrete is structural concrete reinforced with no less than minimum amount of pre-stressing steel or non-pre-stressed reinforcement as specified in building code. Reinforced masonry, that is unit masonry in which reinforcement is embedded in such a manner that two materials act together in resisting forces. Reinforcement bars, wires, strands, fibers, or other slender elements that are embedded in a matrix such that they act together to resist forces. Reinforcement bars leading to we can say reinforcement bars, wires, strands, fibers, or other slender elements that are embedded in matrix such that they act together to resist forces. Reinforcement ratio of area of reinforcement to area of concrete at whatever section of a structural member. Reinforcing bar, and we can see that relative humidity ratio of quantity of water vapor actually present to amount present in saturated atmosphere, that is ratio of quantity of water vapor actually present to amount present in saturated atmosphere at a given temperature expressed as percentage. Ratio of quantity of water vapor actually present in amount present in saturated atmosphere, the given temperature. Release agent how many percent battery is still there? 40%. Release agent, material used to prevent bonding of concrete to a surface, and remoldability, readiness with which freshly mixed concrete responds. Readiness with which freshly mixed concrete responds to remolding effort. Readiness with which fresh mixed concrete responds to remolding effort such as jigging or vibration. Remoldability, readiness with which freshly mixed concrete responds to a molding effort, such as jigging or abrasion, causing it to reshape its mass around reinforcement and conform to shape or form. Remoldability, readiness with which freshly mixed concrete responds to a remolding effort, such as jigging or vibration. Then we can say remolding test means test to measure remoldability and render reply coat of mortar by trowel of float, and repair is construction, reconstruction or renewal of concrete parts of an existing structure, reconstruction or removal of a concrete parts of an existing structure for purpose of its maintenance or to correct deterioration, damage or faulty construction of members or systems of structure. Reconstruction of renewal or renewal of concrete. Reconstruction renewal of concrete parts of an existing structure for purpose of its maintenance or system of a structure. Repeatability. Repeatability is variability among replicate test results. Variability among replicate test results obtained on same material within a single laboratory by one operator. Variability among replicate test results obtained on same material within a single laboratory by one operator. And reproducibility, variability among test results obtained on same material in different laboratories. Required average strength. Average strength of concrete used in mixture proportioning to ensure a high likelihood that concrete shall meet specified strength acceptable criteria. Average strength of concrete used in mixture proportioning to ensure a high likelihood that concrete meet specified strength of acceptance criteria. Required strength. Strength of a member or cross section required to resist factor load. Strength of a member or cross section required to resist factor loads or related internal moments and forces in such combinations as are stipulated in applicable code or specifications. Resetting of forms. Setting of forms separately for each successive lift. Setting of forms separately for each successive lift of a wall to avoid offsets at construction joints. What is this? 32 minutes, 34%. So nearly you have to take care. Resetting of forms, setting of forms separately for each successive lift of a wall to avoid offsets at construction joints. Let us switch on. Background also is important that you know because internet working live. So we have to move further on this, and now I'm talking of you can say here require the strength and resetting of forms. As I said, require the strength is one, that is strength of member or cross section required to resist factor load are related internal moments and forces in such combinations as are stipulated in applicable code or specification, and require the average strength of concrete used in mixture proportioning to ensure a high likelihood that concrete meets specified strength acceptance criteria, and resetting of forms, setting of forms separately for each successive lift of a wall to avoid offsets at construction joints. Reshore a temporary support placed against the bottom of slab. A temporary support placed against bottom of slab or other structural member immediately after forms and original shores have been removed. So resetting of forms separately for each successive lift. Setting of forms separately for each successive lifts of a wall to avoid offsets at construction joints. Reshoring, as we said, temporary support placed against the bottom of slab or other structural member immediately after forms and original shores have been removed. Residual strength. Residual strength in post-peak load. Strength in post-peak load region of a static load deflection curve. Strength in post-peak load region of a static load deflection curve. Strength in post-peak load region of static load and deflection curve. Static load and deflection. Resilience. Capability of a strained body to recover its size and shape after deformation. Resilience. Capability of strained body to recover its size and shape after deformation. Resin, general term for a class of material made by polymerization of organic liquid compounds called monomers. General term for a class of materials by polymerization of organic liquid compounds called monomers. Plastic, viscous liquid, and so what do you say? Resin, general term for class of metals made by polymerization of monomers, and plastic viscous liquid or monomer that's capable of hardening when mixed with appropriate clusters of hardness of plastic viscous liquid, or monomer that is capable of hardening when mixed with appropriate catalysts or hardness. So resin concrete, resin mortar, restoration. Restoration, as you can find here, process of re-establishment, process of re-establishing material forms and appearance of a structure to those of particular era of structures. Restraint of concrete, restraint of concrete. Restriction of free movement, of fresh or hardened concrete following completion of placing in formwork or mold or within an otherwise confined space. Restriction of free movement of fresh or hardened concrete following completion of placing in formwork of molds and or within an otherwise confined space. Reduction in rate of, that is a restriction is restraint of concrete, restriction of free movement of fresh or hardened concrete following completion of placing in formwork or mold. Retardation, reduction in rate of either setting Now, we say here retardation. Reduction in rate of either setting, hardening, or both. reduction in rate of setting, either setting or hardening, or both, an increase in time required to reach time of initial and final setting, or to develop early strength in cementitious mixture. It is defined as number one, reduction in rate of either setting, hardening, or both, and an increase in realization of okay. Then we can say retard is that an admixture is an admixture that delays setting of cementitious mixture, that is retarder. A retarding mixture, an admixture that causes a decrease in rate of hydration or acceleration. Yeah, of some views maybe they are retarding admixture, and we may say retarding redefined admixture that causes a decrease in rates of We can say here now, retarding mixture we have done. Admixture that causes decreased rate of hydration of hydraulic cement and lengthens time of setting. And retamper, add water and remix. Retamper is add water and remix a cementous mixture to restore workability to a condition in which a mixture is placeable or usable. That's retamper, to add water and remix a cementous mixture to resolve workability. Add water and remix a cementous mixture to resolve workability to a condition that in which its mixture is placeable or usable. Reveal vertical surface forming side of an opening in a wall as for window or door. Depth of exposure variate in 7. Reverberation, one or more application of vibration to fresh concrete after completion of placing, an initial consolidation but preceding initial setting of course of concrete. Rib. One of a number of parallel structural members. Backing, shielding. One of a number of parallel structural members. Backing, sheathing. Option of T-beam that projects below slab in the formed reinforcing bars, deformations or longitudinal parting ridge. Rib panel, a panel composed of thin slab reinforced by a system of ribs or working that. Rib panel composed of thin slab reinforced by a system of ribs in one or two directions, usually orthogonal. Ribbon loading. Method of batching concrete. We have ribbed slab, loading. Rib loading, method of batching concrete, ribbon loading, in a method of pressing concrete in which solid ingredients and sometimes also water enter mixture simultaneously. As is the and say ribbon loading method of batching concrete. Loading means producing of concrete. Method of batching concrete in which solid ingredients and sometimes also water enter mixture simultaneously, and it's called ribbon filling. Rich concrete, concrete high cement volume. These are actually selective definitions. I'm giving selective definitions we are providing with. It is, rib, one of member, no, member, one of number of parallel structural members backing sheeting, portion of TBM that, no, I think I've done this, Rich. No, it is one number of parallel structural members backing sheathing, portion of T-beam that projects below slab, portion of T-beam that projects below slab. In deformed reinforced bars, deformations of longitudinal parting ridge. Ribbed panel composed of thin slab reinforced by system of ribs in one or two directions. Rib panels. You can say porous T-beam that projects below slab in deformed reinforcing bars. The deformation or longitudinal parting ridge. With panel, a panel composed of thin slab reinforced by a system of ribs in one or two directions, usually orthogonal, and ribbon loading. We have ribbon loading, method of batching concrete in which solid ingredients and sometimes also water enter mixture simultaneously called feeding. Rich concrete and rich mixture, rider cap, rigid frame, that is the rich concrete. Concrete with high cement content, rich mixture, concrete mixture containing high proportion of cement, rider cap or pile cap, rigid frame, a frame depending on moment in joints for stability. A frame depending on moment in joints for stability. Rigid pavement, pavement that provide high bending resistance and distribution. Loads bending that provides high bending resistance and distribute loads to foundation over a comparatively large area. We have rigid pavement that provides high bending resistance and distribute loads to foundation over a comparatively large area. Rigid pier with small depth to diameter ratio such that when it is subject to lateral loads produces insignificant flexural deformation, and lateral moments are rotational involving entire length of pier. And lateral movements are rotational involving entire length of pier. Rock pocket. Rock pocket. A porous mortar deficient portion of hardened concrete. A porous mortar deficient portion of hardened concrete consisting of coarse aggregate and open voids. Rod. A tool that is used as a straight edge. A tool that is used as straight edge, or can be we have rod. A tool that is used as a straight edge or screed to provide a uniform and even surface across a plaster coat, usually by trimming to a ground or dot. A tool that uses a straight edge or screed to provide uniform and even surface across a plaster coat. And a tool that used as guide for scoring finish. Scoring or comb finish or similar repeating pattern finish. A shape edge cutting, a shaped edge cutting, screed using to trim shotcrete to form of ground wires. A tool, a shape edge cutting screed used to trim shotcrete to forms or ground wires. Rodding. Consolidation of concrete by means of a damping rod. Rolling compaction. Rolling compaction. Process for compacting concrete. Process for compacting concrete using a roller, often a vibratory roller. Roller compacted concrete. Concrete compacted by roller compaction. Concrete that in its hardened state support the roller while being compacted. A process for compacting concrete using roller. A process for compacting concrete using roller, often a vibratory roller, or concrete compacted by roller. This. We have roller compacted concrete and we have rotary float. A motor-driven revolving disc that smooths, flattens, or compacts and compacts surface of concrete floors and floor toppings, also called the power float. Rotary float. A motor-driven revolving disc that smooths, woodens, flattens, and compacts surface of concrete, floor, concrete floors, and floor openings. Floor toppings, concrete floor toppings, and it's called for float. Rotary kiln. Rotary kiln a long steel cylinder with refractory lining supported on rollers so that it can rotate about its own axis. Rotary float. The motor driven revolving disc, that's for both rotary kiln is long cylinder, still cylinder, with refractive lining supported on rollers so that it can rotate about its own axis and erected with after that we can say rotary kiln, then we get the rotary kiln. Again I can define so that the cylinder with refractive lining supported on rollers so that it can rotate about its own axis and erected with a slight inclination, from horizontal so that it prepared raw material fed into higher end, move to lower end where fuel is blown in by air blast. Rotary kiln is long cylinder with refractive lining supported on rollers so that it can rotate about its own axis and erected with a slight inclination from horizontal and so that prepare the material fed into such bins. Highly recommend the person understand. Now we have the after rhetorical, we defined it again many times that route to deepen and widen a crack to prepare it for patching or sealing. It's called route and rubbed finish. Finish obtained by using an abrasive to remove surface irregularities. Rub finish, a finish obtained by using an abrasive to remove surface irregularities from concrete and rubber setting, false setting, rubbing brick, silicon carbide brick, rubber rubbing brick, silicon carbide brick used to smooth and remove irregularities from surfaces of hardened concrete. Rubber silicon carbide brick used to smoothen and remove irregularities from surfaces of hard concrete. Rough stone and irregular shape. Rubble is rough stone of regular shape and size broken from larger masses by geological process of by carrying of we have done here uh, rotary rubber setting with top and rubbing vaccine and rubble we have seen, and we have here rubble, I say rough stone of regular shape and size broken from larger masses by geological process or by quarrying. Concrete is used to irregular fragments as by demolition or natural catastrophe. You can say rubble, then have here Rustication, a groove in a concrete surface. That is rustication, a groove in a concrete surface. And rustication is a strip of wood or other material attached to form surface to produce a groove or rustication on concrete. R value, thermal resistance. Sack, bag of cement, and sack rub. Finish for formed concrete surface. Sack rub, a finish for formed concrete surface designed to produce even texture, and fill with air bubbles. So what we say here, that we say sagging, sag rub, as we said, a finish of formed concrete surface designed to produce even texture, and fill pits and air holes, and you can see sag rub, a finish for formed surface, concrete surface, feeds any finish for formed concrete surface designed to produce even texture, or pits and air holes, and sagging, sloughing, preferred term, sagging, sloughing. Then it is Sample either group of units or portion of material taken, either a group of units or portion of material taken respectively from a larger collection of units or a larger quantity of material that serves to provide information that can be used as basis for action on larger collection as necessary. Right. uh, Sample either a group of units or portion of metal taken respectively from a larger collection of units or a large quantity of material that serves provide information that can be used as a basis for action on large collection or quantity or on production process. Either a group of units or portion of material taken respectively from a larger collection of units that can be used as basis for action on larger collection of quantity or a production process. So it says sample is a group of either a group of units or portion of materials taken respectively from larger collection of units or larger quantity of material that serves provide information that can be used as basis for action on larger collection or quantity or on production process. Concrete that is, we can say, sampling plan. A procedure, sampling plan, a procedure that specifies number of units or product from its list lot that is to be inspected to establish acceptability of lot. Sampling plan, that is, sampling plan. Sampling plan, a procedure that specifies number of units of product from a lot to be inspected to establish acceptability of lot. Prearranged program stipulating locations and procedures for securing samples of a material for testing purposes. For example, as concrete in construction or aggregates in a quarry, pit or stockpile. Now, sand. Granular material passing 9.5 mm. Granular material passing 9.5 mm CU and almost entirely passing 4.75 mm CU and predominantly is retained on 75 micron number 200 CU, resulting either from natural disintegration and abrasion of rock or processing of completely friable sandstone. That portion of an aggregate passing 4.75 mm CU and number 4 and predominantly retained on 75 micron 200 CU and resulting either from natural disintegration and absorption of abrasion rock or processing of completely friable sandstone. Definition and alternatives to be applied under different circumstances. Definition: one is applied to entire aggregate either in a natural condition or after processing, and definition 2 apply to portion of an aggregate. Requirement for properties. Okay, now it says, again I say it's important one, though it's a long paragraph but it's important. But it says in sand, for example, it says a procedure that sampling plan is a procedure that specifies number of units of product from a lot. A procedure that specifies number of units of product, number of a procedure that specifies number of units. A procedure that specifies number of units of a product from a lot that requires to be inspected to establish acceptability of lot. And number two is a pre-arranged program stipulating locations and procedures for securing samples of a material for testing purpose. For example, concrete in construction or aggregate in quarry, pit or stock. Let us say sand, number one, granular material, that is, we know it's a granular material passing 9.5 mm sieve and almost entirely passing 4.75 mm sieve and predominantly retained on 75 mm micron sieve, resulting either from natural disintegration and abrasion of rock or processing of completely friable sandstone. Number two is portion of an aggregate passing 4.75 mm sieve and predominantly retained on 75 micron, resulting either from natural disintegration and abrasion of rock or processing completely friable sandstone. Note: definition are alternatives to be applied under during different circumstances. Definition 1 is applied to entire aggregate either in natural condition or after processing, and definition 2 is applied to a portion of aggregate. Requirements for properties and grading should be stated in specifications. Fine aggregate produced by crushing rock, gravel or slag commonly known is known as manufactured sand. Fine aggregate produced by crushing rock, gravel or slag commonly is known as manufactured sand. Sand equivalent, a measure of relative proportions of detrimental fine dust. A measure of relative proportions of detrimental fine dust, clay-like material or both, in soil of fine aggregate. Sand equivalent is a measure of relative proportions of detrimental fine dust, clay-like material or both in soil of fine aggregate. And sand pocket, a zone in concrete or sand pocket is a zone in concrete or mortar containing fine aggregate with little or no cement. Zone in concrete or mortar containing fine aggregate with little or no cement. Sand streak of exposed fine aggregate. Streak of exposed fine aggregate in surface of formed concrete. Streak of exposed fine aggregate in surface of formed concrete caused by bleeding. Streak of exposed fine aggregate in surface of formed concrete by bleeding is called sand streak. And sand pocket, as we say, fine zone in concrete or mortar containing fine aggregate with little or no cement. And sand streak is streak of exposed fine aggregate in surface of formed concrete caused by bleeding. Sandblast, a system of cutting. Sandblast is a system of cutting or abrading a surface. Sandblast is a system of cutting and abrading a surface. such as concrete, by a stream of sand ejected from a nozzle at high speed, by compressed air. Compressed air often used for cleanup of horizontal construction joint, of exposure of aggregate in architectural concrete, system of cutting or abrading a surface such as concrete by a stream of sand ejected from a nozzle at high speed by compressed air, often used for cleanup of horizontal construction joints or for exposure of aggregate in architectural concrete. Sand coarse aggregate ratio. Ratio of fine to coarse aggregate in a batch of concrete by mass or by volume. So I repeat, sandblast first. System of cutting or abrading a surface such as concrete by a stream of sand ejected from a nozzle at high speed by compressed air, often used for cleanup of horizontal construction joint. Or for exposure of aggregate in architectural concrete. Sand coarse aggregate ratio, ratio of fine to coarse aggregate in a batch of concrete by mass or by volume. Sanded grout in which fine aggregate is incorporated into mixture. Sand, lightweight concrete. Concrete made with combination of expanded clay. Concrete made with combination of expanded clay, shale, slag or slate, or sintered fly ash and natural sand with density generally between 105, or you can say in kilograms I am talking 1680 and 1920 kilogram per meter cube. Sand, lightweight concrete. Concrete made with combination of expanded clay, shale, slag or slate, or sintered fly ash and natural sand with density generally between 1690 and 9020 kilogram per cubic meter. Sand, lime brick, calcium silicate brick. Sandstone. Sandstone, a re-cemented or otherwise indurated, a cemented or otherwise indurated sedimentary rock composed predominantly of sand grains. Sandwich panel. A prefabricated panel that is layered composite formed by attaching two thin facings to a thicker core. A prefabricated panel that is layered composite formed by attaching two thin facings to a thicker core. A precast concrete panel consisting of two layers of concrete separated by non-structural insulating core. Sandwich panel, prefabricated panel that is a layered composite formed by attaching two thin facings to a thicker core. Example is precast concrete panel consists of two layers of concrete separated by a non-structural insulating core. Centaurin Earth. Centaurin Earth. A volcanic stuff. Centaurin. A volcanic stuff or tuff, volcanic tuff originating on Greek island of Santorin, also called Santorini, Thera or Thera, and used as pozolan. Santorin, geographical name, a volcanic tuff originating on Greek island of Santorin, also called Santorini, Thera or Thera, and used as a pozolan. Saponification. Alkaline hydrolysis of fats. Alkaline hydrolysis of fats, forming a soap. More generally, hydrolysis of an ester by an alkali with formation of an alcohol and the salt of acid portion. Saponification, alkaline hydrolysis of fats, forming a soap. More generally, hydrolysis of an ester by alkaline with formation of an alcohol and salt of acid portion. Saturated surface dry, condition of aggregate particle or other porous solid when permeable pores are filled with water. Condition of an aggregate particle or other porous solid when permeable pores are filled with water and no water is on exposed surfaces. Condition of saturated surface dry. Condition of an aggregate particle or other porous solid when permeable pores are filled with water and no water is on exposed surfaces. Back in a couple of minutes possibly. It's better. Go back. So I'll say back in 5 minutes. As usual, no difference. I just this is different actually. It's not what you're thinking, it's embarrassing. You can't take it sandy. No. You have to understand that arbitration is not exactly what is called. Arbitration is a detailed study. But that you have to understand as an engineer means why engineers require there. Because engineer has to think everything about that. Why it happened, what was the reason of that. Why not? We can't take it for granted. It's not judiciary, it's something different. It got my point. What say? Okay, that's fine. Now point is, here we are talking sandwich panels. I just explained that. Sandwich panel, centaurin earth, saponification, saturated surface dry, and we are here on specific gravity. We have seen already saturated surface dry particle density, mass of saturated surface dry aggregate divided by its displacement volume in water, saturated surface dry specific gravity. This is what we understand here, saturated surface dry density, it says gravity, ratio of saturated surface dry mass, ratio of saturated surface dry mass of volume of material, including volume of impermeable pores and permeable water filled pores, but not including voids between particles at a stated temperature to mass of an equal volume of distilled water at a stated temperature. So that is saturated surface dry specific gravity. We discuss specific gravity here. So it says before saturated surface dry particle density was surface dry particle density, and gravity is the difference of density we talked before. Mass of saturated surface dry aggregate divided by the mass of surface saturated surface dry aggregate divided by displacement volume of water, volume in water, and now it's a specific gravity, and that is ratio of saturated surface dry mass of a volume of material, including whatever is volume of impermeable pores and permeable water filled, but not including volume. So that at a specific temperature, this to mass of an equal volume of distilled water at saturated temperature. That's what it says. And here, saturation conditions such that no more liquid can be held. Saturation conditions such that no more liquid can be held or placed within aggregate or hardened concrete. Condition such that no more liquid can be held or placed within aggregate or hardened concrete. Anyhow, socket, sawdust, how many more on page 59. So we have gone through page 58.